Where's the? All right, bear with me, everybody. Having a little hiccup here on my end. Okay. Okay. Okay, can everybody still see my screen okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, great.
Yes.
The joys of doing this from home. Not sure if anyone saw my cat launch onto me just there, but it's okay. I just started a chat so that way people see where the chat is.
People can type in Chinese too. June can help answer, I guess.
Yep, absolutely.
Amy, this meeting is being recorded. That's
Yes.
sign is still up.
I'm
Should it be?
sorry. Excuse me?
The box that talks about Zoom
Uh-huh.
is this meeting is being recorded. That whole box is still up.
Just click OK.
Yeah, if you click OK, it will go away.
Just got it? It
Yes.
doesn't say okay anywhere.
Yeah, got it.
Got it?
Yep.
That did it. Thank
Okay.
you.
No problem. Hello. Hi, how are you? We have a couple of new faces who came on. All right, so we'll wait a few more minutes and we'll get started. All right, Cindy, Dan, June, I guess we'll wait 1 or 2 more minutes and
That's
then we'll
fine, yeah.
get started. Okay.
Okay.
Yep. 3 to 5 minutes is within the zone. That's
Yeah.
I like to encourage people to come on time, So start
Understood.
early, they'll come early.
Yes,
Mm.
yes.
It's so humid outside. I turned on my air conditioning.
I know. Yeah, it was humid today. I can't believe how beautiful it got though. It was so
Yeah,
dark this morning. Total 180 of the day.
cleared up nicely. Yeah.
Gotta love spring in New York. But so while we wait, I do want to thank everybody on behalf of the Mid-Island YJCC, the Chinese American Association of Syosset, and Nassau Suffolk Law Services for you all coming on today to hear Daniel Okrent, who's the staff attorney of the Senior Citizens Unit at Nassau Suffolk Law Services, speak about the basics on Medicare and Medicaid. I want to thank him for coming to present to us tonight. I also want to thank Cindy and Yang and Lisa and June from Chinese American Association of Syosset. As you all helped us with planning this, with translating the PowerPoint, along with my colleague Corrine, who unfortunately couldn't make it tonight, and for June, who is kindly helping us by translating tonight. So it is greatly appreciated. And we're really happy to have you all here tonight again. And as I think we waited the customary 3 minutes after the presentation was to start, if it's okay with you, Dan, I am happy to pass the baton to you to start, the presentation.
Go right ahead. Thank you.
No problem.
I'd like to thank also Chinese American Society Association at Syosset and Mid-Island YJCC, the NORC, and my own agency for putting this together. Should also mention that I didn't actually write the PowerPoint. I believe it was Cindy Lynn who prepared that, and then of course it was translated. I think they did as much work or more than I did. So thanks a lot. First, I'm going to talk about Nassau Suffolk Law Services a little bit for those of you who are not familiar with us. Then launch into the Medicare basics and Medicaid basics. I want to say first that these are very complicated subjects, and we could have a training for days on each one. That's not my purpose tonight. It's something I just want to give a brief overview of what these programs are about, expose you to some of its complexities, but not all, and just make it digestible, for people who are not working in this area. Well, this is my second presentation with the CAAS. I'm very happy that they asked me back, and I think we'll have a third as well coming in the fall. So let me tell you a little bit about our agency. This outline says we have over 6,000 cases each year. We actually have more than that now because we had gotten a new grant just about a year ago to help people more with eviction proceedings. We always help people with eviction proceedings, but now we can help more. We have a lot more staff. So how do we do it? Well, we directly represent people in court and also with administrative agencies like Social Security, like DSS. We also have a very high volume of calls. So people call about legal questions or problems, and I will call them back and answer them as best I can. Some of them are very short cases involving just a matter of a few hours or less. Some of them go on for years with scores of hours put in. We may also refer people to other agencies. We also collaborate with other community service agencies to help people because it often requires a multidisciplinary approach. It's not just the legal piece. Our offices are in Hempstead and Islandia. Those are the two big offices. We have a small office in Riverhead, which handles the East End. So we only serve people in Nassau and Suffolk County. However, the Senior Citizens Law Project only serves Nassau residents. We never had the grant for Suffolk County. That's handled by Touro Law School. We have a large case handling staff that has attorneys, paralegals, and social workers. We now have over 140 staff members, including attorneys. And it's become a large organization. Next slide. So just some of the
Okay.
I have my English translation here. Did you want to translate that first or
Sure. Yeah. Let me do that.
okay?
Okay. 嘿，大家好，欢迎你们今天晚上打电话上来接受一些法律的一些讯息。Dan Oakland，他是第二次跟我们华人协会合作，来跟我们的华人社团一些法律的尝试。然后他今天会解释一下说，他们这个 National Suffolk 这法律服务中心可以帮我们做一些什么事情。然后接下来会讲一下 Medicare 跟 Medicaid 的一些我们可以接受到的服务，跟一些简单的一些介绍。然后就说，我们这个法律服务，它每年接受超过6000个法律案件，就为人民们服务。然后他们是直接代表我们来帮我们提供这些诉讼的这些咨询跟服务。或他不是自己跟我们服务，如果说有需要的话，他还可以帮我们转介绍给其他的机构来达成我们需要的目的地。然后他们在 Nassau 跟 Suffolk County 各有办公室，然后处理案件包括律师助理和社工。现在总共有140个成员，然后他们会以社会机构来做合作，像说华人协会跟 JCC 这个犹太社区服务团。然后今天就由他来跟我们解释一下这些。Okay, next.
Yes, so on the next page, we just have a list of some of our departments or units. Some of them cover a particular area of law, like disability, like foreclosure. Others follow a particular client population. So for example, my unit, and as I say, we're only one department at Law Services. My unit handles seniors 60 and over, Nassau residents, of course, those who cannot afford a private attorney. That's what we're here for. And in a variety of, we have a variety of topics that we cover. We do advanced directives such as wills. We do Medicaid planning. We help with Social Security problems. Of course, we speak like today, do outreach events, a lot of different things. You can translate that.
Okay. Yeah, that slide there's no translation.
Okay.
好
Okay.，
那他们这个法律部门，它分成三个部分在帮我们服务，就是说跟家庭有关系的法律，比如说家暴，或者是说跟孩子的这个补助有关的这些事情。然后再来就是住房，如果说被房东驱逐了，或者是跟住房有任何一些问题，像比如说没暖气、没暖气、没热水，还有再来就是残障的服务。然后他会帮我们说是做一些 Medicaid 的这个资产的分配，然后或者是说如果说对涉安金有一些问题的话，他也会帮我们做处理。OK，
Okay, so
I just wanted
first we'll talk about Medicare. Now, I have to tell you, I'm not an expert in Medicare. I'm conversant with it, but I know really more about Medicaid than Medicare. Having said that, let me give you an overview of the Medicare program and explain to you how it differs from Medicaid. So Medicare is a program that's administered by the Social Security Administration. It's a federal program and it's all federally funded. It's mainly funded through your payroll tax. When you pay 7.65% into Social Security, and your employer matches that, those of you who work, 1.45% of that is for both employer and employee. In other words, 2.9% of the payroll funds Medicare. Okay. It's applicable to both rich and poor alike. You don't have to be poor to get Medicare. It's not means tested. And it's pretty much the same in all 50 states, at least the government portion of it. Okay, you can translate.
OK，那我们现在先讲一下 Medicare。然后 Dan 他对 Medicare 是有一些了解，可是他不是专家，他其实他专门做的是 Medicaid。然后 Medicare 它是一个联邦的一个福利，然后这个钱呢是从我们每年赚的钱的薪水里面扣下来支付的。然后他大概每年我们的薪水的15%会拨给这方面，这 Medicare 来作为我们退休之后的这个医疗的保障的所需。然后这一半的钱是由我们公司帮我们付，一半钱是我们自己掏腰包来付。OK，
Okay. So let's talk about who is eligible for Medicare. Most of the people on Medicare are age 65 and over. Okay. However, there are certain people who qualify for Medicare even if they're younger than 65. The biggest one is if you're permanently disabled, that is, if you're on Social Security disability, and you're permanently disabled for 2 years or more, then you can get Medicare. A few other small exceptions are people with ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. It's also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. For those of you who don't have a long history of baseball, Lou Gehrig was a famous American baseball player. He played, I think, in the 1930s and 40s, and he had this disease, and he died from it. So often it's referred to as Lou Gehrig's disease. It's a very disabling disease. Also, if you have end-stage renal disease, this renal means kidney, okay? If you have end-stage renal disease, you're on dialysis, and it's just a question of how long you're going to live, you can also get Medicare. You could translate.
OK，next slide。OK，那什么人可以申请
Yeah,
Medicare 呢？那就是正常来讲的话是65岁以上的人，然后某一些情况下65岁以下的人也可以申请。那如果说你已经有在拿社安的这个残障的福利的话，那尤其是如果说或者是你已经超过24个月的永久残疾的病症的话，那你也是可以申请这一个的。或者是说有某些疾病的患者，譬如说 ALS，那也统称为 Lou Gehrig 的病。如果说你不知道这个是什么病的话，那你应该是没有。或者是末期的肾脏病的话，那也可以申请。OK。
Thank you, June. So when can you enroll, or when should you enroll in Medicare? So there is a 7-month window for you to enroll in Medicare. It's the 3 months before your 65th birthday, the month of your 65th birthday, and then 3 months after your 65th birthday. So in my case, I was born in September. And when I turned 65, I could enroll in Medicare in June, July, and August. I could enroll in September, or I could enroll in October, November, and December. However, if you enroll in the later months, you can't get Medicare until and unless you enroll. So for example, if I had waited till November, I could still enroll. I'm in that 7-month window, but I'm not going to get Medicare until that month or maybe in the following month. So I always recommend that you start enrolling the 3rd month before your 65th birthday. Now, if you're not receiving Social Security benefits yet, you'll have to be active. You'll have to affirmatively and actively enroll. Okay. However, if you're receiving Social Security retirement benefits, you're going to be enrolled automatically without any action taken by you. Also, another thing, you can change your Medicare plans. I'll talk about Medicare Advantage plans and Medigap plans, but there are certain private options that Medicare has, and you could change those plans during open enrollment, which usually starts in mid-October, and it always starts in mid-October, and it continues until early December. Translate, please.
OK，next slide。
Okay.
好，那 OK，那什么时候可以申请呢？在65岁生日的那一个月可以申请，跟他的前3个月跟后3个月都是正常的申请的时间，所以我们有7个月的时间可以申请。像 Dan 他刚刚讲的说，比如说他是9月生的，所以他在他65岁生日的那一年的6月就可以开始申请，然后申请的时间可以直到12月。然后，可是如果说你是65岁开始就可以拿到这个福利的话，那我们等到11月才申请，那就是11月或者是更甚至是十二月的时候，我们这个福利才会进来。所以他建议是说你在生日前3个月就马上开始申请，确保说我们65岁的时候就可以有这个福利。然后如果说你已经有在领社安金的话，那你就是他们自动就会帮你注册 Medicare。所以说你没有需要做任何事情。可是如果还没有开始领社安金的话，那要记得生日前的3个月就要开始，最好是在日历上把它记下来。然后这个选呢，你需要哪一个保险的时候，那不是一次，不是永远就不可以更改了。每年在11月中旬开始，持续到12月初，我们都可以改变我们跟哪一个保险公司买这个保险。所以就说不用担心说第一次如果说选择这个保险你不开心的话，那你是每年都可以换的。OK, Dan.
Thank you. So there are a few parts to Medicare. You have Part A, which is basically hospital coverage. So if you have to go to the hospital or be in the hospital for any reason, Part A will apply. Now Part A is free, by the way. Okay, generally most people, with a few exceptions, which I won't go into, get Part A for free. Part B, and by the way, that should just be Part B with a letter, not the E. Ignore the E after it. That's a typo. Part B is for doctor visits, laboratory tests, and also durable medical equipment. Now, what is durable medical equipment? It's things like wheelchairs, canes, if you have a device, a pacemaker. Some people have these breathing machines called CPAP machines. Anything that lasts a while and is part of the equipment that you need to keep well is called durable medical equipment. Part D, which came much later, by the way, Part D, which was only from the 1990s, I believe, covers drug costs. Okay, that's your medications. Now, the government program of Medicare is called Original Medicare, or some people call it straight Medicare. But there are also some private options, and they include the Medicare Advantage plans. They're, sold by different insurance companies. They're different prices, different things covered, different deductibles, all right, which you don't have to buy. And in fact, I really don't recommend Medicare Advantage plans. They have a number of disadvantages. So many people have just original or straight Medicare. But the Medicare Advantage plan, the advantage of it is it's a wraparound coverage. So it covers all the other parts of Medicare, Part A, Part D, Part B, and Part D. Can you translate, please?
OK， 那这个医疗保险分哪一些部分呢？它其实呢还有点复杂。它第一个就是有一个 Part A， 这个 A 的部分呢基本上是包含住院的费用，然后它也包含了在某一些情况下，它包含了一些长期护理，可是它保险范围有限，而且你需要满足一些条件情况下，它才会包含。基本上来讲，长期护理这一部分 Medicare 它是不包括的。然后 B 呢，还有一个 B 的部分，那我们得自己买。B 的部分包括了看医生，然后我们做一些实验室的一些像验血的这些报告。这些实验它包含在这一块里面，还有一些耐用的设备器材，它就是耐用是什么意思？就不是消耗品，譬如说轮椅啦、拐杖啦，然后如果说我们需要供氧的话，这个供氧的这个设备，不管是睡觉用的，还是平常白天带在身上的这个氧气的设施，这些都是包含在这个里面的。然后还有另外一个就是 Part D， 这个 Part D 它是包括我们买药的费用， 然后本来也是 Medicare 它本身不包含的。然后再接下来，它有一个 Part C，那也是所有的 Medicare Advantage。我们在电视上广告常常会听到他们的计划，他们就是说这是由保险公司来给，价钱跟它包含的东西都不一样，你要看说你需要的是哪一个。它的计划是涵盖了 Medicare A、B 跟 D 的部分。然后 Dan 他自己本人是不太建议买 Medicare，因为它是有好处，可是它的坏处也不少，所以要清楚一下自己需要是什么东西来买，不要说只是看广告。OK，Thank you。
So and the next slide shows that Part A is free for most people. Part B is currently about $175 a month for most people, and it usually increases each year. It's based on the costs, inflation, but it's been going up. But you can count on that. Now some people can get Medicare Part B for free if they're poor enough. All right, if they can't afford the premium, then there won't be a premium. It's called the Medicare Savings Program. Also, I'll explain later, if you enroll late in Medicare Part B, you're going to pay a higher premium. Part D, of course, varies with the particular drug plan you have. One of the things that you'll need to do, and part of the art here, is to buy a Medicare Part D plan that covers the drugs that you need. So there are many different Part D plans to buy. Some of them cover some drugs inexpensively, some cover other drugs, not so inexpensively, depending on what you have. And the Medicare Advantage plans, of course, vary in cost depending on the plan you choose. Go ahead.
Okay, next slide. OK， 所以这个 Part A 的部分，对大多数人来讲说是免费的，其实也不真的是免费的，它是在我们记不记得我们的薪水都有扣15%，我们付7.5%，公司帮我们付7.5%的这个部分来，所以这个是我们之前就已经先付完的了。然后 Part B 目前的价钱是175块钱，然后这个数字几乎每年都会增长，是跟着通货膨胀调整来涨的。而且是这个可有一些人他并不需要付这个170，或是他们付比较低的价钱，那就是看他的需求。如果说你是低收入的话，你付不起这个170的话，那政府会有补助的政策来帮助你，帮助我们这一块。然后 D 的部分的话，那也是看说你是跟哪一家公司买什么样子的计划。然后他的建议是说，你要看一下说你需要的是什么，你通常要吃的是什么药，然后这个药他们有没有包括？那有包括的话，每一个药每一个公司他们给的这个自付额度都不一样，所以就说你要选一下，到看说哪一个对你最划算。然后 Medicare Advantage 也是一样，它的计划跟费用都不一样，就是要看看说我们自己的需求是什么。OK。
Okay, so now some people, on the next slide, some people are still covered by an employer's plan, or maybe your husband or wife has a job and you're covered by his or her plan. In that case, you don't have to enroll in Part B at age 65. But if you're age 65 and you have no other coverage, you should enroll in Part B because there's a late enrollment penalty. And the late enrollment penalty is 10% more for every year past your 60th birthday that you delay in enrolling. Now, why do they do that? In other words, if you delay enrolling until 70, they'll charge you 50% more. So the reason why they do that is because they want to encourage you to enroll early, because otherwise people will say, okay, I'll wait till I'm 85 when I'm good and sick, and then I'll start paying the premiums. So it's a form of insurance. They don't want you to do that. They want people to pay from age 65 on, regardless of whether they're sick or not. Now, if you're on an employer plan, like take me, for example, okay, I'm 70 years old. I enrolled in Part A when I was 65, although I didn't have to. But it's free, so why not, right? But I didn't have to enroll in Part B because I'm working, and I'm covered by my employer's plan, which is as good at or better than the government's Part B plan. So, but now what if I retire? Okay. Or what if I lose my job, God forbid? Well, I have to then enroll in Part B within 8 months after I leave the job, or within 8 months after my insurance expires, whichever is earlier. And if I don't enroll in within the 8 months after I leave my job, then the I'm sorry, the late enrollment penalty will start. However, as I mentioned, there's a Medicare savings program, which, first of all, as I say, if you're poor enough, I think if your income is below $1,677 a month, if you're single, I don't remember the figure for married people, you can get Medicare Part B for free. And you also get what's called extra help, which basically saves you money on your drug costs. There's another program also. I think there's a program with a slightly higher income requirement on the Medicare savings program. But also, if you're on the Medicare savings program, you will not have to pay the late enrollment penalty, no matter how old you are when you started. So I'm saying these things because I don't want people to get in trouble by enrolling too late in Medicare Part B. Okay, go ahead.
OK，然后如果说我们那个65岁之后，我们还在工作，像 Dan 他70岁了，可是他还在工作，雇主所给的医疗保险比 Medicare 跑 B 相等于 Medicare 跑 B，或者是比它更好的话，那你可以先不需要去申请这个 Part B。可是如果说你没有保险的话，那65岁一定要申请。为什么？因为我们每迟1年来申请这个 Medicare Part B 的这一块，我们要付的费用就会加10%。所以如果说你拖了10年，75岁才申请的话，那你得75岁那你得多付50%的费用，就是这个175你得付他的1倍半。然后在退休之后他如果说他退休之后有8个月的时间可以参加 Part B， 或者是说在你公司给的保险截止的8个月内，你一定要申请这个 Part B， 不然的话你也是会收到这个罚款。然后可是如果说我们有资格拿到 Medicare 的这个那个补助计划的话，那就不会受到这个延迟的注册这个处罚。然后如果说我们在退休之后，我们的一个人的收入在低于1677块钱的话，那基本上这个 Part B 的这个费用我们是可以完全不付的，而且还可以拿到一些那个处方药的一些补助。所以就说他让大家说千万不要去付这个罚款，因为这个罚款很可怕。那为什么有人会不想早一点申请呢？因为他不想早一点付这个175块的费用，他想等到说我80岁、85岁了，真的生病的时候我再来付。然后他为了避免大家做这件事情而可以来，所以政府就是有放这个10%的这个罚款，所以记得一定要加入这个计划。OK，Thank you.
Thank you. So the next slide, what if I enroll late in Part D? Well, just as there is a late enrollment penalty for Part B, there's also a late enrollment penalty for Part D. So if you don't have any other prescription drug coverage, you should obtain it at age 65, unless you have another plan. So I have my drug plan with my employer. I don't have to take it at age 65, but just like the other thing I said, we were talking about Part B. As soon as I leave my employer, I need to start thinking about getting drug coverage, because the penalty is 1% of the national average Part D monthly premium. Okay, you could figure that out. Multiplied by the number of months that you were not enrolled in Part D but should have been. So if I wait 6 months, or say I wait a year, in enrolling in Part D, and I should have enrolled 12 months times 1%, I have to pay 12% more on my Part D premium. It sounds a little punishing, but again, the whole idea is to get people to enroll at 65, or at least as soon as they have no other coverage. I mentioned extra help. It provides help with drug costs if your income is below certain limits. Actually, there's no asset test in New York, so as long as your income is below the minimum, even if you have $2 million in the bank, you can still get Medicare, the Medicare savings plan. By the way, the Medicare savings plan you apply at the Department of Social Services. It's part of the Medicaid program, but it's not truly Medicaid. Okay. If you're on SSI, if you are receiving SSI, you automatically qualify for extra help, and you're going to qualify for the Medicare savings program as well. I should also mention Medigap plans. So all of the Medicare programs have some copays and deductibles, but those can be minimized or eliminated if you purchase a Medigap plan. And these plans are standardized. They're privately sold, they're privately administered, but they have letters, and the letters are uniform. So regardless of which company you buy your Medigap plan from, it's the same coverage, all right? And it's usually pretty much the same price, all right? I won't go into what the plans offer. It's too complicated, but I'll mention later as counselors that you can consult in choosing a Medigap plan. Now, the Medigap plan is an optional thing. You don't have to get a Medigap plan. Some people like them because it covers a lot of things that the little gaps in coverage, copays, deductibles that that Medicare does not pay for. Okay, but one last thing, if you have a Medicare Advantage plan, the health insurers cannot legally sell you a Medigap plan. Okay, you have one or the other, but not both. Go ahead, June.
OK，那第一个部分，如果说价完买的话，会不会有惩罚呢？也是有的。所以如果说你没有处方药的保险的话，65岁的时候也要买。而且它这个的处罚的其实比 Part B 的费用来的高，它是每一个月你要多付1%，所以一年是12%的这个处罚金。而且这个处罚金一旦加上的话，我们是要付一辈子的，永远不会拿掉，不会说我们完申请的2年，我们只付2年，是付一辈子的。然后这个额外补助的部分的话，如果收入低于一定限额的话，那这个也是自动可以拿到这一块。然后如果说如果说你已经在还没有申请这个 Part D 之前已经有Medicare 的话，储蓄计划的话，那你也可以拿到这一方面的补助。然后接下来就是有一个 Medigap 的计划，因为不管你是用哪一家保险公司所给你的这个 Medicare 的这个保险，它都有一些自付额的费用在里面，而且这个费用可能是可以蛮高的，所以我们也可以加买一个保险来做。然后这个部分的话，它有很多不一样的计划，然后每一家保险公司卖的计划都是一样的，价钱也应该都差不多，所以要挑公司的话，那就是要看你要挑哪一个计划。然后这个律师协会他们有人可以帮你来选择说再帮你计算一下说哪一个计划是比较适合你的。可是说这个 Medicare， 如果说你有那个 Part C 的这个 Medicare Advantage 的话，那他们是不能卖你这个 Medicare 的，所以这个是2个中间你要选一个，不应该是2个都有的。OK, thank you.
So lastly, I just want to tell you about where you can get more information, because I just gave you a start, but certainly not the whole thing. The first thing that you should get is the Medicare and You book. It's an official U.S. government publication published by the Social Security Administration, and it's updated each year. It has a good overview of the Medicare program. Where can you get it? And it's written in simple language, by the way, for the lay public. It's available by mail. Once you get it, you could sign up each year and they'll mail you one. You could also get one at your local Social Security office. The ones in Nassau and the surrounding areas are in Freeport, Mineola. And for those of you who live in Eastern Suffolk, there's a Social Security office in Melville. I highly recommend it. It doesn't tell you everything, but it's a very good primer on the Medicare program. Also, for those of you who are online, Medicare.gov, SSA.gov, good online sources of and authoritative sources of Medicare information. On the phone, you can call 1-800-Medicare. Very simple to remember. Also locally, my wife used to work for HICAP at FCA, Family and Children's Association, and they're very good. They really know Medicare, and they have certified counselors to answer your Medicare questions. So you can call them at 516-485-3754. I don't have this number, but you could also, I don't have this number listed. You could also call 485-3425. And they're at 377 Oak Street, Garden City. You can make an appointment if you need to. It says Garden City, but it's really in the Uniondale area, okay? Not in downtown Garden City. Finally, you have the Medicare Rights Center. If you cannot find the answer anywhere else, the Medicare Rights Center, I would view as your final source of competent and good information on the Medicare program. They're in New York City, and they have a free helpline. They give advice both to advocates and counselors and to the lay public. But I would what I would go to is the Medicare New Handbook, and then HICAP, and then as a last resort, the Medicare Rights Center. Okay, that concludes my presentation on Medicare. Go ahead, June.
Okay, then I have a question. Does the handbook come in different language?
I don't know. I think there's probably translated into some languages. That's a good question.
Okay.
Yeah.
好，下面这一页哈，我建议大家拿手机出来，把它照一个相，留个底。这个是如果说我们需要多一点的资讯的话，去哪里找？然后第一个就是说，可以打电话让 Medicare 寄一本手册给你，然后这本手册里面就会比较详细的讲解大部分的东西，而且会给你一些看说你可以去哪里寻找资料。然后如果OK，然后再来就是说，我如果可以上网，可以去拿到这一本手册，那个网址是 medicare.gov，或者是我们可以打电话1800 Medicare，都可以拿到这本手册。然后他建议说，大家应该都有这本手册。那一旦你拿到这本手册之后，他们就会每年再寄给你，或者是说，如果我们是自己在网站上拿到的话，那可以每年上网去拿最新的版本，因为这个资讯每年都会有一点点变动。譬如说，我们应该缴多少钱，肯定是会变动的。然后这个在线可以访问说 SSA.gov， 就是这个是社安局的这个网站。然后因为这个 Medicare 其实也是由他们来监管的。然后可以，然后再来就是说可以打去这个 HIICAP， 这个是一个家庭和儿童协会，它也会有一些咨询，然后电话也是在这边。然后他们地址是高林森。然后最后，如果说在这些一到我这个你都找不到资料的话，那可以打给这个联邦权力中心，那个电话也在上面。所以我建议大家赶快手机拿出来拍一个照片。
1-800 Medicare. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, June, the Medicare New Handbook is translated into different languages. I'm not positive that they have one in Mandarin, but you could call 1-800 Medicare, and they'll tell you and they'll send you a book.
Okay, thank you. 然后这本手册它有翻译成各种不同的语言，我们现在还不知道是不是有中文。如果有的话，那我们华人协会会去找寻这个资讯。如果你需要的话，那也可以通过我们来帮你拿到一份。好。
Okay, so we're ready to talk about Medicaid. Just please hold your questions to the end so we can get through the program. Now, in contrast to Medicare, which is a totally federal program, and also remember Medicare is available to all. Even if you're a billionaire, you can still get Medicare. But Medicaid is not so with Medicaid, right? So with Medicaid, you have to be needy enough medically, or you have to be poor enough to really qualify for the program. Having said that, one of my routine duties is to help people qualify for Medicaid, that if there's some kind of barrier, particularly a financial barrier to qualifying for Medicaid, I help people with that. But Medicaid is generally a program, health insurance program, for people who have low incomes and or low financial resources. Now, remember I said that Medicare is controlled by federal law only, but Medicaid is controlled by a combination of federal and state laws. So it's different in each state. It's not the same in all 50 states. The legislation that created Medicaid many years ago was federal legislation. It was created by Congress. However, it's up to each state to set their own rules and, administer the program as they see fit. So I will be talking about New York Medicaid. I don't know Florida Medicaid or Illinois Medicaid, right? It's different in each state. And the eligibility rules vary from state to state. So now if you change counties within New York State, you don't have to reapply for Medicaid. We are one state. We have one set of state laws for Medicaid. But if you go from New York to Florida or any other state, you're going to have to follow the Medicaid rules and eligibility in that state. June?
OK，所以 Medicaid 它是一个联邦开始的一个计划，可是每一个州针对他们自己的需求会定不同的政策，所以它是属于联邦跟州政府来监管的。每一州有自己不同的政策跟不同的计划。然后 Dan 他本身他只知道纽约州的，如果说你是在外州的话，那要寻求你们当地那一州的这些法律顾问。然后如果说你是在纽约，如果说你住长岛，你要搬到上州去的话，那不用再继续申请，因为整个纽约州是统一的。OK。
By the way, in relation to your question about Medicare and new handbook in Chinese, they do have a version in Mandarin.
OK， 那这个 Medicare 的手册它是有中文版的，如果你有需要的话，那可以联络华人协会帮你拿到一本。OK，Thank you。
So in New York State, back to Medicaid now. I'm confusing you. The Medicaid program is funded with a combination of federal, state, and county funds. So we live in Nassau County. Some of the Medicaid funding comes from the federal government. Some comes from New York State, and some comes from Nassau County. It's a very expensive program. We have one of the most generous Medicaid programs in the United States of any state. So now in New York, in all of these states in all of the counties except New York City, the Medicaid program is administered by the local Department of Social Services, or DSS. So in Nassau County, that would be the Nassau County Department of Social Services. In Suffolk County, it would be the Suffolk Department of Social Services. That's where you apply for Medicaid, and that's who processes your Medicaid applications. In the city, it's called the Human Resources Administration, the HRA. So in the 5 boroughs of New York City, the New York HRA controls that. Go ahead.
OK， 在纽约州补助计划是由联邦州政府跟我们每一个郡的这个政府来支付的。然后除了纽约市以外，每一个郡的服务部分都是由 DSS 来负责审核这个计划。然后纽约市的话就要找 HRA。OK。
Okay, I may have to skip over some topics because we're running a little late. And I want to get through the program. Now, when people come to me for advice on Medicaid, I say, why do you need Medicaid? Okay. And there are a few reasons for needing Medicaid. First of all, if you need nursing home care, especially long-term care in a nursing home. And Medicare only pays for nursing home care in very limited situations in a very short duration. Now, some of you may ask, and I briefed myself on the customs and mores of the Chinese community and the Chinese American community. And one of the things I admire about Chinese culture is that you respect and venerate the old, whereas I think in the United States, not as much, unfortunately. And I realize too that there's a tradition of caring for one's parents, which is also a good thing. It's also very admirable. The problem, though, sometimes becomes where a child, usually the child is the caregiver, could be a brother or sister, but invariably an adult child. He or she may work, all right, and can't spare the time for caregiving responsibilities. He or she may live 1,000 miles away, say you live in New York, your mother lives in Florida, or the reverse, and they can't care for them. Third thing is the person may need so much care that they can't be safely or conveniently, realistically cared for at home. Another thing I hear is that we have a 75-year-old daughter and a 95-year-old mother. The daughter would like to care for her mother, but she doesn't have the strength to lift her mother into the shower or off the bathroom toilet. So I'm not trying to make excuses for people, but sometimes home care is not realistic. And that's why we have nursing homes. So it's not something that most people want to do, but occasionally it's necessary. So in most nursing home care is paid for by Medicaid. I mean, in our county, the average nursing home care rate is up to about $14,000 a month. That's $168,000 a year. Very few people can afford that kind of money for any kind of period of time. So eventually, most people in nursing homes have to go on Medicaid. The other big reason for Medicaid is personal home care services. So even if you're staying at home, you may need a professional home health aide or personal care aide. And these personal care aides can bill out at $35 an hour, say, even though they're paid much less than that. But even if you need 20 or 30 hours a week, many people can't afford even that. So they'll need Medicaid to pay for their personal care aides. Sometimes the Medicare copays and deductibles are very high, although you could use a Medigap plan, and they need Medicaid just to cover the copays and deductibles. For example, Medicare will cover rehab stays, rehab stays in a nursing home, but there's a copay of about $200 a day. So many of my clients can't afford that deductible for too long. High prescription drug costs are another reason for needing Medicaid. If you have an exotic drug that's costs a lot of money, sometimes Medicare will not pay for it or will not pay for all of it. Although you do have, again, Medicare Part D. And just want to mention briefly the elderly pharmaceutical plan, EPIC, which is a New York State plan, does give you a discount on drug costs. Or generally speaking, anyone with high medical costs or low income may need Medicaid. Go ahead, June.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah, OK，那什么时候我们会需要申请 Medicaid 的这个补助呢？大部分的时候是要住疗养院的时候。我在长岛的疗养院的费用，现在平均1个月是14,000块，一年要16.8万块钱。这个费用是一个很可观的费用。然后但觉得说我们中国人其实对我们老的看护是很到位的。那时候很多家庭，他们对老的看护都是由子女来照顾，可是子女有时候他们自己也要上班，自己有小孩子要看，或者是说这个看护的时间，如果说是需要24小时的时间的话，那在家里做看护的话，这个基本上是不太可能的事情，因为费用太高了。然后有的时候就算是我们自己在帮 长辈看护的话，也需要一个个人助理进来帮忙。譬如说如果老人家要洗澡的话，我们一个人可能搬不动，像我自己块头就很小，你要我搬动一个病人的话，那是危险性蛮高的。然后这种时候的话，那看护的钟点费1个小时是35块钱。如果说每个礼拜都要付二三十个小时的话，这个费用也是很可观的。然后再来就是药物的费用，有一些处方药它1颗就要100块钱，可以想象得到说，如果说没有保险或者是其他任何支付的话，那这个是一个很可怕的事情。所以如果说有 Medicare Part D 的话，它可以帮忙一些。然后还有一个这个纽约州有一个这个 EPIC 的这个补助计划，它可以给打一些折扣。可是这个就算打折扣，这个也是不多，费用还是蛮高的。然后再来就是说，正常的 Medicare Part A 跟 Part B 的话，它是有个自付额的，自付额可以是20%。譬如说，如果说我们受伤或手术完之后需要做复健的话，那他们是会包含这个复健的费用。可是每一天我们的自付额可能可以到200块钱，然后这个也是很可观的，尤其是老人家他这个做复健的这个时间可能会比较长一点。然后如果说我们的这个医疗费用有这么大的支出，然后我们自己负担不起的话，那是可以寻求补助的。政府会是有计划可以帮我们的。OK，Thank you。
Sorry, that was a lot. I didn't realize it would be. Okay. So I'm going to skip over the next slide. It's pretty self-explanatory that there are two kinds of Medicaid. All right. Community and institutional. The following slide. Okay, who is eligible for Medicaid in New York State? We have the initial categories were the following. If you're over 65, if you're blind, or if you're disabled, meaning that disabled enough to be unable to work in any job for at least 12 months. It's the same standard as for Social Security disability. Now, for many years, those were the only qualifying criteria for Medicaid. But many of you might remember the Affordable Care Act, okay, which also was called Obamacare. It's the same thing. And that expanded Medicaid so that many low-income people who are not in those categories can get Medicaid. That's all I want you to know in this slide.
OK， 那谁有资格享受纽约的医疗补助计划呢？第一个是65岁以上的人，第一个是盲人，第三个是如果有残疾，让你至少12个月无法工作。这个跟这个社安补助金的这个残障的补助是一样的。然后还有不属于上类别的低收入人士，这个是跟奥巴马医改就把这个 Medicaid 的部分也并进去了医疗保险的部分了。OK，Thank you。
So this slide, so when people call me, they may say, I have $80,000 or $50,000, and you can only have $30,000 approximately. I don't want you to memorize these figures, and I don't even memorize them because they change each year. But suppose someone has $50,000 and they can only have $30,000. What can I do for them? Well, I say, do you have a cemetery plot or do you want one? He said, yeah, I need a cemetery plot. I said, you could spend, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 on a cemetery plot. Even if they don't want a cemetery plot, I said, you can do a prepaid funeral. What is that? You go to any funeral home and you pay for a funeral, no matter when it's going to happen. It could happen 10, 20, 30 years from now. And the money you put in for that funeral is non-refundable, irrevocable. And but the money that you put in that funeral does not count for Medicaid. Okay, and neither does the cost of the cemetery plot. So a funeral today could be in the $10,000 to $15,000 range. So right away we can get rid of some money, all right, and qualify them for Medicaid. There's also a whole body of law relating to transfers. So sometimes we don't want to do it if we don't have to, but sometimes you can give money or property away to your relatives. There are complicated rules on that. So as a last resort, we can make transfers. We can also, with certain rules, I don't want to go into them because it could take another hour. We could pay their debts. So if you owe some money, plus you have some credit card debt or some medical debt, if you pay that debt, you'll also get your assets down. Surprisingly, many people need clothing, furniture, or appliances. So get that new stove, get that new dishwasher if you need it. Other people want to do home improvements. Their house needs repairs. They want to put in a different shower, maybe a handicap ramp. So these are some of the tools that I have in the bag to help get people qualified for Medicaid and get their assets down. Okay, you could translate.
OK，那有的时候，它像说，如果要可以申请这些补助的话，我们的资产有某一个程度的上限。那如果说资产太多的话，怎么办呢？那是在有限度的范围内，有一些地方我们是可以把这个钱花掉的。然后这个也是，就是说可是就是说这个花掉的这个就写的那个很仔细的。就是譬如说，我们可以先预付我们自己的葬礼的这些费用，像说买墓地呀、礼仪的这个火化的这个费用。那或者是我们可以将我们自住房转给有在照顾我们的子女，或是转让给配偶。然后配偶也可以拒绝支付我们的这个医疗费用，配偶有拒绝支付我们这个医疗费用的权利，或者是说，如果说房子需要维修，或者是需要买新的电器用品，像这些都是一个可以把我们的资产降低资产的一些方法。然后详细的话，就是店他平常在帮我们做的，所以详细的话要跟他联系。OK，Thank you。
So I'm just going to give a very brief overview because we're going to run out of time otherwise, and I want to leave time for questions. But in the next few slides, I explain how there are spousal impoverishment protections under Medicaid. In other words, Medicaid does not want to, deprive the spouse, the husband or wife, of all monies. Okay, and there are protections that the husband or wife can keep certain amount of monies and keep a certain amount of income. Some apply when they're in the community. Some apply when one spouse is in the nursing home. I was hoping to explain them to you, but I think we'll just dispense with that. But in the early days of Medicaid, there were a lot of problems with that, where people, the rules were rather harsh, and spouses suffered greatly. That's no longer the case. We have a lot of provisions for preventing spousal impoverishment. Go ahead, June.
OK，所以 Medicaid 它其实还挺有人性的。如果说是有夫妻的话，那没有生病的这一个配偶，他可以保留某一些财产跟某一些收入，说政府不会为了说要让这个生病的这个配偶可以拿到补助，而让活下来的这个一无所有。所以这个是在最近这几年这有所做的改变，一开始的时候并没有这一块。OK，Thank you。
So on the few slides ahead, Medicaid myths and falsehoods. Keep going. Keep going. Yeah. So I just want to expose a few myths. I mean, myths are that are beliefs that people have, but they're not true. Okay. And I just want to dispel the myth of a few of them. Some people say my income is too high to get Medicaid, or I have too much assets to get Medicaid. Don't assume that. Call me first, right? And we'll see how high. Now, we're not in the business of helping multimillionaires qualify for Medicaid. Most of my clients, are not rich as things go. But if you need Medicaid, we usually can help you do it. So don't assume you're too rich, and also some people think that if you're on Medicaid, you cannot own a home. That's not true. I have many people on Medicaid who live in and own a home. Also related to that, people think that if you go on Medicaid, they're going to take away my house. One of my jobs, again, is there's many ways of protecting the home, to see that it stays with you and in the family. Don't worry about losing the house. Okay, that's good enough. Yeah, go ahead, June.
OK，那有一些那个医疗补助的谣言虚假的信息，譬如说我收入太高了，无法拿到补助，或者是我的退休金的账户存太多钱了，拿不到补助，或者说我不能挪用我的房产。那如果说或者是说我申请了补助的话，到时候我的房子就没了。然后社区医疗补助有一个5年的回顾期，非法移民也有资格可以获得补助。然后就是有办法补助，所以说如果说你觉得说你可能有需求，不要觉得说自己的收入太高，自己的资产太多，我们可以询问 Dan 跟他的同事们，看看说，那我们是不是有办法拿到这些补助 ？OK，Thank you.
So on the last slide, Medicaid resources. The first, if you need Medicaid or are thinking of applying for Medicaid, please call us first. All right. Our number is 516-292-8088. That's 516-292-8088. And they'll get a recording, but just leave a message with your name and phone number and what you're calling about, and we'll do our best to help you. The second resource is the Nassau Suffolk Hospital Council, and they do Medicaid applications. I don't have enough hours in the day to write Medicaid applications to fill them out, but the hospital council does, and they also know the Medicaid rules. So I'll often, after counseling with me, I'll often send you to the Nassau Suffolk Hospital Council to do the Medicaid application. There are a few community service agencies that also do Medicaid applications, such as Catholic Charities and can't think of the other one. Anyway, FCA no longer does Medicaid applications. Again, the Nassau County DSS office administers the Medicaid program. You'll have to be dealing with them when you do file an application. They process the application and they accept or deny you on Medicaid. If you're denied Medicaid, okay, and I try to avoid that, okay, let me know, and we can often cure the problem, fix the problem that caused you to be denied. But I really recommend, again, this is a tricky program, and there's a lot of reasons to get denied and get into trouble. So please call us first before you apply for Medicaid. Please get professional help with the Medicaid application. Finally, I didn't get a chance to talk about pooled trusts, but this is another way of reducing your assets to legal limits and reducing your income to the legal limits. So we use the Center for Disability Rights, very good pooled trust for those who have too much income for the Medicaid program. Okay, that's pretty much it. I'll take questions.
Okay, let me translate that first.
Yeah.
Okay, next slide.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
No problem.
Oh, I don't, okay, why is this not?
I think that's my last
There we
slide.
go. Okay.
OK，那大家赶快再把手机拿出来，把这一页拍一下照片。然后如果有需求的话，第一个是请你联系 Dan 跟他的服务单位，他们会给你他们会给你看一下，看说那有什么，你是不是可以符合这个资格拿这个福利。那如果说没有办法的话，他会帮你。然后如果说你可以拿到这个福利，他需要填写这个申请表的话，那你要打到第二个这个电话 他们有人可以帮你服务，帮你填写这个表格，因为但他们这个是法律顾问的单位，他们没有太多的时间来填写这个表格，然后填写完表格之后，递交给这个第三个那就看是你住在哪一个区的这个 DSS 的机构，然后他们会审核来批准或者是拒绝。那如果说万一被拒绝的话呢，那请麻烦再跟店的他们这个机构来联络，他们会帮你协调一下，看看说怎么样可以让你符合这个申请。然后再接下来就是说有这个残障权利中心，他们有一个信托，他们的如果也可以把自己的资产放入这个信托里面，让你可以符合这个拿到这个医疗补助这个资源。好，那现在就是说店可以回答问题，如果说有问题的话，那可以让自己讲话，或者是打在这个 chat 里面，我可以帮你做翻译。好，谢谢。Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So do we have any questions? Gotta have some questions.
I know
Are
it's
you
a lot of
confused?
information to process, but just know that, after the presentation, once we receive the recording, I'm happy to send that out along with
Mhm.
Dan's contact information at Nassau Suffolk Law Services, along with the information about the Medicare packet also being available in Mandarin.
Mhm.
Make sure all that's out. And if it's okay with everyone here, I'm happy to send out the PowerPoint as well if people want that, so that way they can review.
Right.
今天店给了很多资讯，我知道有一点难以消化，所以如果说大家有问题的话，可以询问他们的机构，或者是直接跟华人协会联络也可以。然后他们今天这个有录像，所以会有回放，到时候我们会把这个连接给你们。Okay, we have.
Hi, you can go. Yep.
Okay, hi. So first I want to apologize to June for interrupting before. My sincere apologies. I did not realize that for one moment I turned on the speaker. But let me get to the point. Dan, I thank you, and Amy, I thank you for this program. I wanted to know if HiCap would be able to give me some idea of what the insurance coverage would be like before I leave my job. And I don't know when I will leave my job. That is the big hitch. Or is it just before retirement they will tell me what the expenses would be for Part B and Part D of Medicare?
Right. Well, as I say, currently the premium for Part B is $174.75. So I was an accountant, but I just rounded to $175 a month currently.
Right.
I say each year it goes up a little bit.
Yeah.
As far as Part D goes, it depends on the plan you get, but they can help you find the plan that covers the drugs, assuming you need drugs, assuming you need medications. It
Wow.
covers the medications that you have at the cheapest possible cost.
I
There
see.
are a lot of different Part D plans available,
Mhm.
but call them earlier rather than later. I mean, after you leave your job or when you expect to leave it, call them early, and they can get you started on other on your Medicare options. Again, they're not really the Medicaid people. I'm the Medicaid person, right?
Right.
But they know more than me regarding your Medicare insurance choices
I see.
and options. Yeah.
Okay. And
Does that answer
you
your question?
do, yes, you did. Thank you. And do you do trusts as well?
We don't do trusts. We just do pool trusts, and maybe I should explain that. So, we leave that to the private bar. We pretty much do simple Medicaid planning, but if you need a private trust, and you and your family's name, you'll have to go to the private attorney for that. It usually, plan on spending, I don't set prices for the private bar, but it could be $5,000 or $6,000 to
Oh,
set up
okay.
a trust. All right. But for people who just need have excessive income for Medicaid, we use what's called a pooled trust.
Mhm.
And these trusts are set up. Now, private trusts, as I say, it's expensive. You really need a lot of money to justify it. But these are people who don't have a lot of money, but they do have, say, higher income, then they need to qualify. So you could put that excess income into a supplemental needs trust. Well, we call it a pool trust because these trusts are, first of all, they're run on a nonprofit basis. And second, there are thousands of individuals who are enrolled in the trust. So they can spread the legal and accounting fees over many people. So for example, the trust we use, it's like a $200 enrollment fee and $20 a month to maintain the trust.
I
So
see.
for most of our clients, and again, we're a poverty law program, we find the pool trust to be, perfect for their needs. But
Oh.
if you're talking about many hundreds of thousands or in millions, I think you need the services of a private attorney who could offer more sophisticated Medicaid planning than we can offer
I see.
in our nonprofit. Okay,
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you very much. Yeah.
you bet.
Thanks, Amy.
Okay, if I may, I'm an investment advisor, so I will recommend you talk to an investment advisor to set up a plan to talk about how to budget for retirement. Because I like to budget $3,000 to $5,000 per person per year for medical cost. That includes premium on that. So definitely, if you're near retirement, you're thinking about that, talk to an investment advisor.
Sure.
Right,
Thank you, June. Yeah.
and related to that, a financial planner, certainly.
Mhm.
Are you a financial planner also, or?
I not a certified planner, but but I do planning.
But you do planning? Yeah.
Yes.
No, that's very important. In terms of, because you want your retirement funds to last, you want to be able to, live decently during retirement and not be impoverished. So yes, I agree totally that a financial planner and investment advisor are recommended.
Yes, especially you don't want to impoverish the surviving spouse. Because if one person, if one spouse gets sick and depletes the entire asset, then that's a bleak future for the surviving spouse, on top of losing one spouse. So that is
Right.
something we like to do. And a good advisor will also be able to tell you whether you should consult an attorney about setting up a trust or just a will do.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay.
I agree. That's a
Yeah. Thank you.
good point. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Well, if it sounded like a lot, I'm glad I didn't go over some more technical aspects of Medicaid that I was thinking of doing, and with the translation, it was enough. So,
It's
I'm
good
fine.
information to have, but it just needs to be taken in smaller bites.
Yes.
Especially with translation taking up half the time.
All right. I'd like to give people a lot of information for the time spent, and I hope that will encourage more people. But yeah, I will take that under advisement. And I think you make a good point, June,
And you did give a lot of information. I learned a lot today too.
Yeah.
I mean, for it to be
So
written
did-
out on the
so did I.
PowerPoint too, people can look back and then they can consult, whether it's with Nassau Suffolk Law Services, whether it's with the private attorney. Here at Seniors of Syosset, we often refer clients to both Nassau Suffolk Law Services when applicable, or HICAP when applicable, or Family and Children's. And we also do have referrals for local elder care attorneys. So, we do
Right.
provide those a lot to people, depending on each person's situation.
Mhm.
So these are definitely good starting points to then have those in-depth discussions, because everybody has, different family structure, different finances, assets, no assets. But I did have a question, Dan, for people who have immigrated to the US who are, older, I'd say 50s, 60s, how long would somebody need to reside in New York State in order to qualify for Medicaid?
Well, there's two different questions here. One is a citizenship question, or residence in the United States, and the other is New York State. So if you're a permanent resident, I think, and you've been here 5 years, you can qualify for Medicare. And I think the same thing with Medicaid, although there's really complicated. There are other categories of aliens or non-citizens, people even without a green card who can qualify. They're complicated and too difficult to explain here. New York State doesn't have any residency requirements for Medicaid. All right. So if you say you lived in Florida all your life and you take a plane to New York. You're on the ground at Kennedy Airport or LaGuardia. As soon as you land, and as long as you intend to make New York your true and permanent home, you can apply for Medicaid when you get off the plane. There's no waiting period for New York Medicaid.
Mm.
Other states may have a 30 or 60-day residency requirement for Medicaid. And keep in mind that Medicare is the same in all states, you know. So whether you're in any of the 50 states, Washington, D.C., it's Medicare is the same.
Michelle, Lily, Kwok, did one of you have a question? I see the hands up.
Yes. Hi, Dan, June, Amy, you are doing a wonderful job. I really appreciate it. Very informative, and we have learned a lot. I have a question. I'm not 65 years yet, so I'm not qualified for Medicare, but I do want to retire early. What's the best option for me for Medicare?
For Medicare?
Sorry, for just regular medical insurance. Sorry.
Yeah. So I assume you're not disabled. I mean, you are working, so that means you're not disabled. So you would have to wait until 65 to get Medicare. However, if you can get Social Security as early as 62. But you're going to suffer a reduction in your monthly Social Security amount if you take Social.
I'm not.
sorry?
I'm not thinking of taking SSA. I will wait later. What my top concern is the medical insurance. If I'm not working and I'm not qualified for Medicare, what should I do? What's your good advice?
If you're not qualified for, if you're not going to take Social Security,
Correct.
well, how would you sustain yourself if you didn't work? Do you have a private pension?
I will take my 401k and my other savings. Then I want to buy my own medical insurance. But the corporate is very expensive, so I'm just looking for other options.
Yeah, I would think twice, you know, I mean, now, even though you can get early retirement at 62, but it's like a 30% reduction in the monthly amount. If you can wait till 70 to take Social Security, you even get more money than if you retired at your normal retirement age. So, for example, those born after 1960 have a normal retirement age of age 67. And for me, the normal retirement age is 66. But I waited 4 years. I waited till age 70, you know, to take my Social Security. And so I'm getting 32% more than I would get at age 66. You follow? And that follows me for life.
I
So
understand. Just put SSA on the side. After I leave my job, I need medical insurance. So I'm asking, what's the best option for me to buy my own medical insurance?
Oh, I see what you're saying. For private insurance, you mean?
Right, regardless, you know, SSA, just leave that on the side.
Yeah.
And isn't it that's what Obamacare is for? She could go onto the marketplace and according to her income,
Yeah, I was thinking
she'll
of
pay a different
marketplace.
premium for Obamacare.
Yeah.
So
That-
if you're not showing a lot of income, then your insurance premium may be lower than buying Cobra from your employer.
Yeah, she could go on the marketplace plan, or she
Mhm.
can go on Obamacare.
Right.
Okay, that's
ACA.
what I'm looking for. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that would be income tested.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Mhm.
do you have health reasons for leaving your job, or is it or you just want to retire?
I just want to do early retirement. I want more freedom, and my job is stressful. So I just want to retire. But my friends told me that, I mean, I'm healthy, but they say even though I'm healthy, I still need medical insurance.
Yeah. No, you should. I don't recommend that anyone goes without medical insurance. And
Yeah,
I think June's suggestion is an excellent one. Either, there's a marketplace, insurance marketplace in New York, and there's also, or failing that, you can go on Medicaid, basically, the Obamacare. You can get government provided health insurance.
Thank you. I
Or
Yeah.
find a company that give you benefit on a part-time basis
Mhm.
and just get insurance. I think a lot of companies, once you work 20 hours a week, you can get that medical insurance.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
also
I would not be, I mean, I'm biased in this way, but I wouldn't be quick. I would not be quick to give up my employer provided health insurance. I mean, my company pays for health insurance for not only me, but my wife. It's worth something like 40,000 a year, and I'm reluctant to give up that benefit. And
Right,
so
but if I'm not working, I cannot get that. Mhm.
I understand.
Mhm.
I understand.
Thank you. Yeah, I check it out. I really appreciate your good advice. Thank you.
No problem. Anyone else? Do we have anything in the chat or,
No, I checked. I
okay,
checked just me in the chat.
okay. Well, we were budgeted until 8:30. We can end a few minutes early.
Okay.
Um,
Again, I want to thank you, Dan, for your excellent presentation, and thank you, June, for the translating.
no problem. Glad to help.
Now,
Absolutely.
those
I'm
of you
so
who are
appreciative.
bilingual, how did June do? Because I can't evaluate her performance in translating because I don't know Chinese.
Great
All right,
job.
we'll leave it
They
at that.
They did an amazing, I mean, June did, she did an amazing job translating as always. And then so did the team, for the written translation.
Yes,
So,
Lisa,
this
Yang,
is-
Kareen.
yeah, it's,
Absolutely.
I mean, the team effort is always very, very professional. And June, June has done multiple translations for us. Not simultaneous, but during webinars and presentations. So she's a natural at this.
She's a natural.
I just can't do it in writing, so I need help with that.
Well,
Yeah,
thanks
and
so much.
Kelly also said in the chat, thank you. The Chinese translation was great. So those thoughts are
Thank you,
echoed as well.
Kelly.
Yep, and she took screenshots in both English and Chinese, which is excellent. And Kelly, I will email out the copy of this PowerPoint along with the recording once I have the recording of tonight's program. So I'm going to send that to everybody who was on or who couldn't make it. I know I had one person register who couldn't attend, so I'll send that to her. So absolutely share with other people who you feel this could be helpful with. And we look forward to doing this again soon later on this year for our final installment of the Nassau Suffolk Law Services Chinese American Association of Syosset and NORC Seniors of Syosset Partnership on providing education about these different, programs and, legal issues and what resources are out there. So, again, thank you so much, everybody. And I hope everybody has a great night. I just want to check in. Lily, did you have another question or was your hand still up?
Yes, hi, this is Michelle here, Amy.
Hi,
On
Michelle.
behalf of my mother, she would like to know when she can get these slides from tonight's presentation.
Okay, well, as soon as I have the recording of the Zoom workshop, which should take a day or so, just because we have a graphic designer who's able to upload the Zoom webinar to our JCC YouTube. So once I have this in YouTube form, I will distribute it to everybody because I think it's better to send out one email from me than multiple emails from me.
Fair enough, thank you.
So I would say by early next week, the latest.
Sounds good, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you all for helping me with this and thank you for attending. I enjoyed it and hope you learned a lot.
Thank you
Okay,
so
thank
much,
you, Dan.
everybody. Thank
you
you so
for
much.
organizing. Thank you.
Anytime. It was nice meeting you all somewhat in person or as in real life as we can get, but I hope everyone has a great night. Take good care,
Okay.
everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you all for coming on. Thank you again, Dan and June.
Okay,
bet.
bye-bye.